Hi. Short Bus Debate Club. It's a bus rolling.
I can get on board. Hello, I'm Darren Jolly.
It's time to get this short bus started. So let's roll and on with the show. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us for the Short Bus Debate Club. Sorry we're pulling up to the stop late once again. I feel like the train man in the Matrix, you know, in that one movie, in that one scene, they were like, I don't know where he is. The train's never late. And this fucking week, we've been late the entire time.
I don't think we really have the power that the train man had in the Matrix.
No. And we definitely, we can say we created this world.
Yes, this is a world that we created, indeed.
But I can't fucking jump over 2 lanes of subway traffic to catch a train.
Our bus ride doesn't actually connect one world to another world in the same way.
Not in the same way, but it does connect one world to another world. Anyway.
Having said that, I digress.
So this episode, we are going to talk about urban reform, gentrification. You know, before those 2 terms came into popularity, eminent domain was used a lot. And these are terms where the government and or people with money use them in order to fuck people with less money than those that have it. Now, they're not necessarily always poor people, but I would say, lower middle down definitely are the ones that get fucked most. But before I go into that, I've got kind of good news. So I got 2 emails from people. And if you count the spams from the Nigerian prince and the Russian girl that wanted to date the Short Bus Debate Club, then we got a total of 4.
What did the Nigerian prince want to do?
If I give him my bank account number and send him some money, then when he gets to the embassy and gets all of his money, he will give me riches beyond my wildest dreams.
So it's kind of like the lottery ones, sort of.
Yeah.
And so its riches are a little bit of, in the context of our previous 2 episodes, a little bit of, not the Nigerian prince, but the...
I actually was talking to a guy from Nigeria, and he said that he was pissed because his uncle drives like Porsches and Ferraris, and he has this huge fucking house on a mountain and all of this shit, and he refused to do the work that his uncle did. And I said, well, what does your uncle do? And he's like, well, he sends emails to people.
He did? This guy really said that to you?
I don't know if he was telling me the truth or not.
That's funny, though. I think that he should do that as a stand-up comedy routine. Because everybody could connect to it. And I'll tell you that, like, for about 4 or 5 years, chock solid, like, all of the scams that we had coming through the post office where people would, like, buy things from outside of the country is all Nigeria as well. Like, all of it was Nigeria. People would come in and they'd be like, I need an express number. Well, I'm like, for what? They're like, oh, we need to do this thing through Nigeria. I'm like, no, you don't want to do that.
He said his uncle wasn't the only one that was just fucking rich as shit. So apparently that means there are a lot of fucking stupid people here in the United States and probably Great Britain.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
So the 2 spams, but then we got somebody asking about the 45 minutes, and I explained that to them, that basically we're waiting for more exclusive content so that we can, get a subscriber base so that we can do more exclusive content. And I don't know if we need to put the chicken before the egg or...
No matter what, it would be better for us to get...
Cart before the horse.
It'd be better for us to get from 4 people listening to at least 8 or 9.
Right.
And not all of them, well, not 7 of them or 4 of them from Virginia
And the other one,
Maryland.
someone we know.
Not that we have any problem with the people from Virginia. Or
But the other email, and I don't know if this one was supposed to show up in spam or not, because it was odd. It was from someone called Merritt Lewis, Merittlewis. Now that could be Lewis Merritt too. I'm not sure. But all it said is hallo, Hallo. That's it. Well, hallo to you, Merritt Lewis.
Give us a little more. Give us a little more on the next one, if you really exist. But if you only exist in our mind, I'm not really sure.
Hello. And I don't know if that's a German spelling of hello. Trying to convert to English.
I think that thought is kind of shallow.
It could be.
Sorry.
I have been known to be shallow in certain situations. Okay.
In your slut days.
No, I wasn't ever shallow. I would fuck tall girls, skinny girls, fat girls. It didn't matter. If you had a personality and we kind of clicked,
there was fucking.
It was good to go.
And I just want to make one quick point. Anybody that doesn't think that this connects to what we did earlier in the week, urban development affected the lives and livelihoods of prostitutes when these programs got put into place. So we'll cover that more as we get inside of it. But this is there is a microcosm, macrocosm kind of.
Well, so if we just work backwards, and let's say we start at Times Square, right? Because that's kind of what started this whole thing with the HBO show, The Deuce.
We're back on The Deuce,
right?
Yeah.
So The Deuce, I don't know exactly where it ran, but they called 42nd The Deuce, and some of the clubs were down as far as 35th, and some were up as high as 49th. But a few blocks off of either side of Times Square, I think, was this district called The Deuce. And they called it that because there were fucking heroin junkies everywhere. There were hookers and heroin junkies.
Yeah, these are not necessarily mutually exclusive categories.
So Times Square, the first big company that was coming in, and this isn't based on research, this is based on The Deuce, but you can still see the Marriott in real life. But according to The Deuce, the first big company that was coming in was the Marriott. And since the Marriott was coming in, all of these other companies wanted to come in as well. But they had a fucking problem. They had hookers walking the streets. They had junkies everywhere. There were people being mugged. It was not an area conducive to tourism and sales of high-end condominiums.
Or just shopping districts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the shopping district ends up connecting to, it's all part of it.
Same thing. Yes.
The ankle bone's connected to the knee bone. No, it's not. There's a shin bone in between. And some people have shin surgery.
That looked very...
Yeah. No, I fucked that up.
I almost said midget, but I know that's not the preferred nomenclature.
Well, it depends on if they're all proportional.
Good point.
Because otherwise it would be dwarf, and that's not looked on proudly either.
You're just supposed to say little people?
Yeah, and that just clubs them all into one thing.
And you don't start singing, "We represent the lollipop kids."
Lollipop killed.
Sorry. All right. The Marriott and the other groups that wanted to invest in Times Square.
So the Marriott brought in more investors, but again, they had these problems. So they took it in to steps. So first of all, they had to get the hookers off the streets. So what they did is they moved the hookers into brothels. Once the streets were clean, now they could start buying the buildings, but some of the buildings had brothels in them. So they had to figure out a way to get rid of the brothels. So they started arresting all of these girls and the people that were running the brothels and everything else. It finally came down to the AIDS epidemic, and they had to call it a health and safety initiative or some horse shit like that, where they got the last couple of buildings, and they padlocked them because they got rid of the girls saying that basically they could spread AIDS. So that's why Times Square looks the way Times Square is now. And so the Deuce is gone, and all of the dirt, which I don't know why. Every city I go to, I seek that shit out. I want to go to the bad neighborhoods. Part of it might be because I grew up in a lot of shitty neighborhoods, but part of it I think is those are where the real people are. When I went to Romania all those times, this one girl asked me, "Why do you like Romania so much?" And I was like, because the people are fucking miserable. Maybe more miserable than me. And it's honest. They don't fucking smile at you and say, "How are you doing?" They kind of grumble and fucking throw whatever you bought at them.
That kind of reminds me of that time when you went to the American Beer Festival, and it was right after them. This is the '90s, so I mean we're talking about Urban Renewal in Denver at that point.
When I walked through 5 Points.
Yeah, you ended up getting to the northernmost point of where the light rail went at that point in time, and it was late at night, and I think that a little girl walked up to you.
A little black girl walked up to me because at the time 5 Points was not gentrified. There were a lot of crime and shit going on. And she saw me walking up to the station, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I'm catching the light rail. Do you know how to get to the Cherry Cricket?" And she's like, "I have no fucking idea, but you got to get out of here. They'll kill you." And I was like, "Nobody's killing me." And I'm walking down the street. I'm like, "What's up, bro? How you doing?" I don't know if they thought I was a cop or if I was fucking packing.
I'm pretty sure they knew that you were pretty well lit.
If I was hammered. Yeah, but they left me alone. And this girl, because all I had was credit cards, bought me a light rail ticket because she was really afraid they were going to kill me. Obviously, I didn't die. I'm here today. I didn't even get into a fight.
But it is weird to think about, like, and I'm not going to go, we'll go back to your Times Square stuff, but, like, people that, I mean, I was born in 76, you're born in 73. I used to go down to have coffee at fucking Muddy's on 23rd and Champa, and that was, like, between 89 and 91 a ton, and that was all fucking just totally fucking ghettoed out area.
Well, dude, that was before they built the Coors Field baseball stadium. Yeah. And so, like, it was so funny. We went down there with this girl Erin was trying to date, and we were just drinking in the car because none of us were old enough to get into bars. And we went to this area, and there were homeless people burning shit in barrels, warming themselves up, as homeless people do. Mm-hmm. And this girl started crying and saying, "I'm scared, we need to leave." I was like, "You've got to be fucking kidding me. They don't care. They might ask for a beer or a smoke, a couple of bucks, but they don't give a shit if we're here." Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your
Muddy's thing. No, that's fine, but that's what we're talking about. I mean,
in the same neighborhood.
And there's, like you said, like, the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Rockies come into the league. The Rockies get, they want to build a stadium. They're starting by playing at fucking Mile High at that point in time, but they're working on that. So as soon as that happens, John Hickenlooper, fucking asshole senator of fucking Colorado, who said he was never going to run for Senate, but because Andrew Romanoff was running and because he was a real honest progressive thinker, he came in from the side, swooped in, and fucking stole that senator seat. But going back to the moment where all that investment started, so the stadium started going up, and all of this money started to pour into Denver in those areas to change the face of them. But don't think for a second that it was just this honest business type of venture that was going on. And that, like Brian was suggesting, if you're going to do that, if you're going to invest, the people that are putting the money in, they want to change the face of the entire location. They're not, you're not going to have people coming down and going to baseball games if, a lady standing out on the corner, or a guy standing out on the corner saying, "I'll suck your dick for $5." That's just not the way that things work. But like the dark underbelly of it isn't really what they were pushing out. It was the mechanisms that were put in place to sort of develop these urban renewal movements in the first place. Things like tax increment financing, tons and tons of stuff, geo bribes. I mean, there's just all kinds of incentives that were put in place. And as we go along, we'll talk more specifically about what they are. But John Hickenlooper was a businessman who had positioned himself very effectively, put up a bunch of big ass fucking bars, the Wine Coop, a couple others. I'm not sure what the other ones that he owned, but him and tons of other people made shitloads of money off of the refacing of these areas and the movement of a specific demographic of people out. Like Brian said, it wasn't just, and it's not just hookers. It's low, it's lower middle, and it's middle class people, because if you're gonna,
there back then, there in that particular neighborhood you're talking about, and probably the Deuce, there weren't a lot of people living there. I mean, there were some, but now everyone is living there. I mean, Reverse White Flight came in as soon as they popped up all those fucking lofts, and I think they wanted it to look like Wrigley Field, because now there's fucking condos right across from Coors Field, and they did all of these things. So now you go down there, and a lot of the old cool buildings are completely fucking gone because they raised them so that they could build some fucking skyscraper to fit 10,000 cocksucking yuppies in.
Not that there's anything wrong with cocksucking.
No, but there is a serious problem with most of the fuck faces that live in those buildings, regardless of whether they suck cock or not. So all of these people come in, and now Denver, whether you're talking about lower downtown, which is where the baseball field is, and what used to be a bad neighborhood. Like if you went to some of the bars and stuff, you definitely wanted to have a gun or a knife. From Lodo out, you can't find a fucking house for less than, I'd say, $850,000.
Yeah, I mean, if you, I don't even know.
And I think that's probably low.
Yeah, I think that's probably, yes. I think you're looking more in the million plus, like range. It is, and as those things sort of happened, you can go to like any. Well, I won't say any, but we'll say many urban space, not Detroit, because like you go to Detroit, their politicians were so fucking crooked, and every time something was happening, to where it became unlivable in a lot of areas there. But in areas where there was success with these urban renewal spaces, you could go from Atlanta to LA to Seattle to New York City to Denver, and anything like Brian has suggested. There's this one building that we used to go to down by the train tracks and eat LSD when I was 16 years old. It was called the Silos. But there's no doubt that this was a unique area. There was a certain type of it was part of what made Denver at that point in time. And all of these things that had character to them got displaced. So now you have M&M stores, Foot Lockers,
they're gone.
Movie theaters. It's all
condos.
Everything is the same in all of these urban environments now. There's no public space in them. They're all private locations where you can go and spend your money. You can buy a fucking $1 million or $1.5 million loft or whatever, or you can stay at a fucking expensive ass hotel. But anything that would identify these places, except for maybe something like Philadelphia, a place where you have like real history, DC or something like that. All of the character of these cities have been essentially defaced in favor of consumer positions that are demanding the money.
Well, and they love to build those apartment buildings that have the like businesses underneath them, like the restaurants and shit like that. It's fucking horrible. And I understand business. So I understand if you build this, then this will happen. and then these people will come, and then that will happen, and the tax base goes up, and the tax base is supposed to improve the schools, except nobody knows how to fucking budget, so none of this shit actually works. So now what's going to end up happening is that in another 30 fucking years, they're going to have to go back down there again and do urban renewal, because all of the fucking homeless people are going to end up back down there. Because again, you cannot broom a problem, whether it be hookers or bums or muggers or whatever, because they're going to continue doing what they're doing, because at the time, that's their fucking job, right? I'm bumming money, I'm turning tricks, I'm mugging people. That's the way I put food in my kid's mouth.
As an example of what it is that Brian is saying with regards to Denver, okay? So like the pavilions, when those came in, Stapleton, several of these large developments, whether it was in relation to real estate positions like Stapleton was, or the actual commercial spaces that were around those areas, or a commercial space like the pavilions, or he brought up the fact of the hotel Marriott out in New York City, giant big hotels, because these are the things that you want to have in these downtown urban spaces. So there were these huge tax increment financing positions that were developed at the end of the 90s and the early part of the 2000s. And tax increment financing is essentially where you don't require the dispensing of taxes by the investors to offset the cost of their developments, right? So, and some of the things that you would not have to pay taxes on are property tax, sales tax, or lodger's tax, right? These are some things that are part of this, where you're not requiring the developer or the people that are making the investment to create these spaces in these urban environments to have to pay these taxes, or they start out at zero taxes, and then over the course of time, they have to pay increasing numbers of tax, an increasing amount of tax, until they're finally at the same place that everybody else is, right? So basically, essentially, every benefit that one of these developers would get from paying property tax, they're essentially getting for free, right? Because of the fact that they're investing. So I'm not sure, I guess we can call that capitalism, but I just think that probably not so much anymore. But like I was saying, Brian suggested that you're going to have to renew a position. So this is a thing. Active tax increment financing areas in August of 2019. Downtown Denver, Colorado National Bank Building, Mercantile Square, Denver Pavilions, Adams Mark Sheraton, Stapleton, York Street, Highland Greens Village, Point Urban, Northeast Park Hill. I can go on and fucking on and fucking on and fucking on. These are people that are getting the benefits of what it is that you pay taxes for free, because they're at the top of the investment position. So what they did at the end of the 21st or the 20th century, 20 years later, they're getting renewed benefits that reflect the demand for, again, reinvestment of those spaces, because like he suggested, there's this sort of like Joseph Schumpeter concept of creative destruction, where you have to keep renewing that sort of like investment cycle, and ultimately it gets you nowhere except for just going around in this sort of spin cycle place, where you just keep displacing everybody else and privileging the people that are essentially at the top of the ladder.
Yeah, it's complete horseshit. I mean, and I said 30 years. That was just kind of a guess. I mean, because so here in Colorado, after everybody pulled out of shale in like 82, the fucking economy here just crashed. It took a shit, right? Well, it started picking up again in the early 90s, and then in the middle to late 90s, it went gangbusters and then sort of plateaued. And then as soon as tech fucking hit, it skyrocketed and went through the roof. And now it plateaued again and then fucking skyrocketed again. And now we're kind of at a plateau. But, I'm seeing more and more for sale signs and for lease in downtown Denver. And when I was in Chicago, I saw them fucking everywhere. When I was in Cleveland, I didn't even see for sale or lease signs. Most of them were just fucking old shitty condemned buildings. And that was the same with Detroit because, well, like Darren said, there was a lot of corruption and everything else, but there was also a lot of bad fucking people. But I actually had some dough in 2017, and the city of Detroit was selling blocks of houses, not a block of houses, meaning there's 5 houses in this block, but blocks of houses for pennies on the dollar. The only problem is that you had to sign a contract and you were going to renovate it. You were going to make sure that nobody came in and started squatting and doing illegal shit. And I live in Denver. I have no fucking intention of moving to Michigan. So that was pretty much impossible for me because while I had the dough to buy a block of houses, I didn't have the dough to do all of the other shit that they wanted to do, I guess. So all of these places are trying to do urban renewal, and some of them probably need to. Like I said, Cleveland, those guys are fucking hurting. They need to figure out a way to bring in some more businesses and raise the unemployment or lower the unemployment rate and raise employment. Detroit, they're having the same problem.
Cleveland, when who was the guy that was the mayor of Cleveland that went to bat against the public service?
The only mayor of Cleveland I know is Jerry Springer. And
I forgot about that. That's fucking funny. No, this guy, he ran for.
Or it might have been Cincinnati.
This guy, yeah, that was Cincinnati. But no, this was this Cleveland guy. He ran for president in 2004. He was a socialist. I don't know why I can't remember his fucking name. But when the public utilities, he tried to fight against them being privatized, and the people of Cleveland were with him in that, and. I'd argue that because of the fact that they tried to maintain this position where the people of Cleveland owned this thing, that was a public utility that they should own in the first place and not put it in the hands of somebody where you're saying capitalism, but there's no real competitors. They're the only ones that are essentially selling everybody their energy in the first place anyway, because they didn't play along with it. I think that Cleveland got disciplined for that. And I think that sometimes that working class mentality and the affinity towards an older world space. You find his name?
Was it Dennis Kucinich?
Yes, Dennis Kucinich. That is who it was. Okay. Yes, because he's a very he was pre-Bernie, and much starker. Like he understood the system way better than Bernie did.
Well, like I said, I try to seek out the bad parts when I go to wherever, and in Cleveland I didn't have to do that much seeking. No. Boston, I had to go a little bit farther out. Mm-hmm. Places like Philly were kind of mixed. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it'd be all fucked up, and there's a nice building, and then a cemetery, and then kind of a fucked up building.
You go 3 blocks, yeah, it switches up.
Yeah, I've never been to New York, which I said so, and that breaks my heart because I wanted to go to CBGB bad, and I wanted to see Times Square win Basquiat and fucking
David
Bowie and the Talking Heads and Blondie and all of them were there. I mean, they were doing so much shit, including heroin, which doesn't bother me. Warhol, yeah. I mean, it was just maybe one of the greatest places ever as far as just art output in a short amount of time.
That's one of those weird things about urban renewal is that sometimes you have like these spaces where the artists go, and because artists are fucking chic, like investment will follow them, and they create the art districts after that, and then there's all kinds of investment, like the Santa Fe. They, like what they did on fucking Santa Fe was a clear, and like gentrification, like crazy. You had brown communities that were there that were essentially totally fucking displaced.
Okay, so urban renewal, I would like to say that there is some good that comes out of urban renewal. So urban renewal is making something better for everyone. Gentrification is basically shitting on everyone that doesn't have as much money as you. So you're bumping people out of a neighborhood because they can no longer afford to pay the property tax in that tax bracket. And that happened in the Highlands a lot. All of those fucking old Italian people, the old Mexicans, they lived in those houses for 30, 40 fucking years. They had been paid off. And all of these assholes come in and start, it started off at 500,000 and then went to 650, 750, 8. And these old people are like, I can't fucking pay taxes on a house that's worth $800,000.
When I was young, at 32nd and Lowell, that's where one of the places I used to go get all my fucking weed and mushrooms, dude.
Dude, it was not a good neighborhood. I mean, but it was a good neighborhood. You could go there and get the greatest fucking Mexican food ever.
Or Italian food. There was a lot of good Italian food over there.
And now you go there and some fucking asshole wants to give you a spring salad and a rose flavored beer with your $27 hamburger that's not even a hamburger because it's made from pork and some fucking pigeon or some shit.
And John Hickenlooper bought
Gaetanos. Well, okay, so urban renewal, like I said, is sometimes good for some people. Can be good for lots of people. Generally, it's not. Hickenlooper bought Gaetanos, which was an old mafioso bar.
It was the old mafioso bar in Denver.
Because that's where the Italians lived in the Highlands, which is a neighborhood, and that's where the Italians lived. So Hickenlooper bought Gaetanos. I think it was 2006. Might have been 2008. When did that shit happen where he was mayor? And there was going to be a fucking drug bust at Gaetanos. The Denver police got a tip that there were lots of drugs at Gaetanos. Well, they didn't move on the tip for like ever. And then by the time they stormed Gaetanos, all of the drugs were gone. I don't think that it's a coincidence that that's because the mayor owned the fucking place. So, you be the judge.
Urban development. Yes. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was kind of there was just kind of a, I don't know. It's like history that gets displaced by people that turn it into like a caricature of itself. Like I just don't trust John Hickenlooper to respect the significance of the history of something like that.
Well, I've always said that history is actually written by those who have the power to do so.
Oh, did you come up with that one all by yourself?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't remember hearing anybody saying it, but maybe they did.
The victors always write the history or some shit like that?
I don't know. I always thought the victor got the spoils. Now that one I did not write.
I'm pretty sure that somebody else, maybe once or twice, had said the other one, but I could be wrong. But I'm not. But I could be.
Well, on that note, so but this didn't just start within the last 30 or 40 years. It's been going on since the United States became the United States. And, they've always had the power of eminent domain and always had the ability to steal your shit regardless of whether or not you had money. I'm sure on more than one occasion, like I know I read that they did it in New York to build a hospital. Okay, so that's probably for the good of everyone. But, in the 1800s, they used eminent domain to steal people's ranch and farmland just so that they could make it more of a straight line, easier to build, more profitable instead of going, around. So they stole tracts of land left and right.
You talked earlier today when we were talking about railroad a ton. Eminent domain was used over and over for that. I'm sure it was used for power lines probably as well.
But that stuff is good for everybody, but it was better for the people that built the railroads because, again, instead of going 5 or 10 miles out of the way, they just say, well, fuck you, we're going straight through your property. Because it's more cost effective to basically steal it from you and pay fair market value. Well, fair market value in the fucking 1800s was zero. I mean, really, it might not have been zero, but it wasn't like there was a huge fucking real estate market in the middle of Kansas.
And fair market value is, I mean, it's funny. Like when I hear people talk about how the value of this thing is inflated and blah blah blah. I mean, people say that as if value is something that's objective in the first place. Of course, it's not objective. Like value is something that exists in our minds. It's real only in the sense that we have a relational concept of things. It's not real like in any other. Again, like I was talking several episodes back about like if fucking aliens come to the fucking the globe, 1,000 years from now and they find a bunch of fucking flags, they're just going to say they're blankets. Like if they see something that would indicate something like value, they would never think, well, that's obviously money right there.
Are aliens cold? Is that why they're going to think they're blankets?
Yeah, well, they're just not going to think they're flags, right? I mean, it's if it's a flag, it's a big ass long thing.
Hey, look at all these fucking blankets.
Say they go by like a fucking really big car sales place. It's like they got buried like in Mount Vesuvius and all that shit. So like. You have this one perfect fucking gigantic flag, and this alien is like 27 feet tall.
Right.
He's like, dude, that would keep me so fucking warm.
I'm so glad we came to this planet. Look at this big fucking blanket.
It's the best blanket I've ever found. Such pretty colors. So nice. Or if they did it by the United Nations building where there are like 100 of them.
Right.
That color's perfect for you. That matches me a little bit.
I can take this one back to my sister. No, I see your point. Yeah. And I don't know what they do for, well, I do know in China for urban renewal, they fucking drown a whole bunch of people because they built that big fucking dam.
Did they drown a bunch of people?
Well, a lot of the people didn't want to leave the villages, and they said, "You gotta go."
But like they do, like I mean, I've seen Chinese urban renewal up fucking close, dude. They don't like with the fucking trains and shit that they're built. There is no fucking around with that stuff, man, and it is high tech, like.
But do they call it urban renewal, and is there a such thing as eminent domain, or do they just fucking shoot you and let you go?
I'm sure that the eminent domain does not function in China at all. I think that it's pretty much just fumpy,
Fumpy?
Yeah, that's how you tell somebody to fuck themselves in Chinese, but it really just means fart. So you say chickapee, this and that pee, Anytime I say that to Annie's mom, she fucking Anna laughs.
Okay, so Feng Pi is get the fuck off here. We're building a railroad or a dam or whatever.
Exactly, right? Feng Pi. We're going to do a test on this. So if you have any questions, send us an email later.
Okay, I know this is fucking wrong because we were supposed to be talking about eminent domain and urban renewal.
Why would they have eminent domain in China, dude?
Well, something like it. I mean, seriously, because there's a fucking shitload of people there with whatever. I mean, I don't even know what property ownership looks like in China.
I think that we'd have to go down a serious rabbit hole, but I think that property ownership would be a very tenuous concept where everything is basically you're allowed to possess it based on the grace of the state on some level or another.
Okay, so they can take it at any time.
My guess is yes.
But I talked about them drowning people building the dam. And we fucking buried all kinds of people in Hoover Dam, depending on who you believe, because they weren't going to stop construction just to pull some dude out of the concrete, so they just pour more concrete. It was.
And now we're back at last Friday on the torture episode.
But I talked about the villages that were in the path of the dam in China, and it reminded me of this video that I saw, and I don't know if our listeners, all 6 of you, have seen it, or if you've seen it, but they were in this little fucking village in China, and these people, I don't know how the fucking news got there, but they had found this 2-headed mushroom, and they were playing with it and putting it in the fucking like kiddie pool or water, and the media is like, oh, this is great. This is a 2-headed mushroom. This is the greatest. This is the luckiest village in the world because they found this, and it was just this huge fucking dildo. Look up the 2-headed mushroom video, dude. It's hysterical.
I think that we've taken this discussion a little bit too serious today.
Yeah.
I think we need to just
we've got a problem between blankets and fucking 2-headed mushrooms. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, obviously we don't know property rights in China. Maybe they will just steal your shit. Probably similar in Russia, unless, you're one of the oligarchs.
So one of the things also that urban development fucks with a ton, and we this is something we'll have to talk about more at another point in time, but it connects to the China thing on some level, in the sense that historically we seem to value public space a lot more than we do now. We just would sell off any fucking space anywhere for anything. Except for of course not water or fucking
well, that's why I was so surprised by these apartments or whatever the fuck that are right by our place, because I know certain municipalities around town say if you're going to build something that X number of places, well, all of the places have to be ADA compliant or a percentage.
American Disabilities Act. Okay.
American Disabilities Act. But they also state that a certain amount has to be green. There's got to be grass or trees or both, something. And these motherfuckers over here live in the concrete, dude, at least from what I've seen. So maybe the city of Lakewood doesn't have the same green space type thing or public, because the whole idea is that, you can take your dog for a walk or give your kids somewhere to run around.
But that's still all going to be shit that's owned privately. When I say the public versus private, so even the light rail shit that's right behind us, even though that's nominally public space, if some of the fuckers out there sleeping,
the cops are going to come.
Yeah, or security, one of the security guards. So ultimately everything sort of becomes this sort of private enclosures, where homeless people are pushed out. Like you said, there's no space for these. In Central Park, you might still have a hooker wandering around.
If she is still wandering around, then she's an old lady, dude, and she's probably not making a whole lot of money.
So they that's been they got their cops and their. Are you sure?
Well, no, you said still. There's probably hookers in Times Square, but she's not still wandering around. I was just fucking with you, dude. No, don't worry about
it. Sometimes shit just goes right over my head.
No, there's probably hookers there. But they're the ones that work the hotel bars. Every city, and probably New York has 50 of them, has some fucking magazine or something where you can flip to the back and find drugs, you can find girls, you can find whatever. So maybe they don't even have to work the fucking hotel bars anymore. Now the internet, I've got a friend who told me when he got back from Delaware one time, his wife did a search on his computer and saw that he did a search for Delaware hookers. So clearly he should have cleared his cache, but what I'm getting at is he knows that you can just fucking put in whatever state or whatever city you're in, and hookers' phone numbers and email addresses are going to pop up.
Gives me, I have 2 questions for sure. So, did he say anything about his experience with Delaware hookers?
Dude, this guy told me all kinds of shit all the time about every fucking girl he'd ever fucked or got a blowjob from. He talked about bikers in Texas that he paid to give him, biker girls in Texas that he paid to give blowjobs. Yeah, he told me all kinds of shit.
So, the second question, of course, is he still married or?
No, and I don't think it's because of the hooker thing, because she stuck around for about 3 years after. It could have been because the hooker thing continued. I don't know for sure.
She needed some viable proof so that she could make sure to extract the most that she probably could.
It could have been just that they weren't a good mesh. I don't know, dude. I didn't get into it and say why'd she leave, but she left. So
I didn't expect him to give you a warm and fuzzy, dude. I just figured that she probably, if you see him looking it up, that doesn't mean necessarily that she can't prove at that point in time that he went out and got a rub and a tug. But if she wants to get a payday.
Oh, see, and then massage parlors, that's another thing altogether, a rub and a tug. Right? I mean.
Maybe we ask Mike Myers, he could tell us, go up to Mystery Alaska.
I'm pretty sure she could tell that he wasn't doing research on fucking hookers.
But she still had to be able to prove it if she wanted to pay it. That's all I was saying.
Oh, there was no payday. She just asked him why he was looking up Delaware hookers, and I'm sure he said, well, it was just for fun.
Do you think that she was fucking his best friend in the meantime or something?
Beats the fuck out of me, dude. I don't ask a lot of those questions.
You know what?
I don't know why people open up to me the way they do.
If I ask you a question that doesn't really merit an honest response, like when you're giving shit to somebody, you're just making a joke. I don't really expect.
Oh,
for you
so
to
should
know
I just should have said sometimes things just go right over my head?
See, that was kind of funny. That would have been more comical. Your other response was kind of douchey.
Well, I'm both douchey and comical. All right. I think we kind of got fucked up and went off on some weird tangents, but you guys basically got the point. Urban renewal is not always for the good of everyone. I know over in my mom's neighborhood, Inglewood Housing bought a bunch of old fucking houses and raised them, and now they're selling fucking condos for like $1.2 million. And
what do they call that area?
Oh, yeah, that's the Health and Wellness District of Inglewood. Yeah. Oh, I just bought a condo in the Health and Wellness District.
Do people meditate on the street and just start floating in the air and shit like that?
Oh, dude, the fucking restaurant we went was so fucking pretentious. It was, well, first of all, I think they're the ones that called it the Health and Wellness District. I don't think Inglewood ever called it that. But, and don't get me wrong, I think farm to table is a good idea. But they had this garden up on top with a greenhouse and everything. And so they talked about the farm to table, and they talked about where they source their fucking meat and all of this shit. But everything, I just can't stand a place where you can't go get a burger or a sandwich. It's always got to have some fucking aioli or some fucking special lettuce.
Can't they just say mayonnaise with a little dab of ketchup or something like that? Where did the word fucking aioli come from in the first place?
I'm guessing France.
So, Annie, we go to this place called The Revolution down there. It's a Chinese place. It's all fucking vegan. It is. I'm sure it is in the health and wellness. Dude, it is fucking good, though.
That was where my old favorite Thai restaurant was on the Health and Wellness District. They ended up moving to Broadway and Evans, but...
They weren't giving people health and wellness?
I think it probably got too pricey because of fucking Urban Renewal.
Yeah.
And so they moved to Broadway and Evans, which now they're probably going to have to move once again, because of Urban Renewal.
You keep having to taste the ghetto pay for rent. That's why you go to those places too, because that's where there's good places to eat.
Fuck yeah. And I'd said forever, and I know this sounds wrong, but some of the best Mexican places in any city I've been in, if you, and this sounds absolutely disgusting, and sometimes it's dangerous and you get some food poisoning, but if you go in and find shit smeared on the wall, it's good food. I don't know why.
Sure what to do with that.
I don't know why. I have a guess, and that's because for some reason down in Mexico they don't use toilet paper. So if they do wipe their ass with toilet paper, they don't really know, like they don't flush it. And I think that might be because of plumbing in Mexico. I don't know.
Is it called the schmear or something?
Well, they wipe their fucking hands on the wall. And I hope they wash their hands when they're done. But like I said, some of the best Mexican food ever can be found in places with shit on the wall.
I'm going to tell you that the places that I went to in Mexico, they had toilet paper.
I'm just telling you from the, like, all of Daniel's friends, they would fucking wipe their ass and then throw the toilet paper in the trash can.
Really? Zosimo and shit like that. That's not untrue. They don't in China and in Taiwan, they don't use. I don't know if it's just that the irrigation. I mean the what am I saying? The plumbing is different to where they just like it was built differently. But I mean, my understanding is that they don't use the toilets for their toilet paper either.
Well, there are some cultures where you're not supposed to shake with your fucking right hand, which is weird because here it's culturally correct to shake with your right hand, but in some cultures you don't with your right hand because that's the hand you wipe with. I think, or maybe it's your left.
I know.
Either way,
I know what you're talking about. That does not apply in China or Taiwan, but
that's good that they'll shake their hands.
They do. I mean, but Taiwan is like, I mean, Taipei is a fucking Beijing's fucking super city, you know? Right. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it is about toilet paper and fucking plumbing, but maybe that shit just gets stopped up in those places and they're like, motherfucker, I'm sick of calling somebody out here to put the goddamn snake down there, you know? This really went off the rails today.
Fucking name, dude. We've got problems. Serious problems. I am going to seek help sometime between now and next week. So I know for sure one of the episodes we're going to do next week is on safety, and that was because of a comment that Darren made in the previous episode about, fuck you, quit telling me to be safe.
I didn't say it. Janae said it, but yeah, I know what
you said it in the last episode.
Yeah, I said it.
Yeah. And we're probably going to do some other entertaining shit. I don't know. Got any ideas?
I actually do have one because Elon Musk bought Twitter, or he finally actually has Twitter in his coffers now. There's so much bullshit about this administration created like a truth and something council. I'll talk about it more, but it's about the idea of what really is free expression. Like anytime you say something about COVID, or if you say that COVID came out of a Hunan lab, that was funded by the NIH, then automatically there's a warning that goes up from Facebook or from Twitter because you mentioned something that people automatically identify with conservatives, which I don't.
Is it the Truth in Media Cooperative?
No, it's no matter what, it was created and then it was disbanded because there was such a huge reaction to it. But it was exactly like the same kind of shit in 1984, where anything that you said that wasn't following which was, again, a lot of it that was going on during COVID, where if you did not take the line of whoever was in power, I mean, whether you like Trump or not, he'd say some shit, and then like Twitter would ban him. They kick him off. You either believe in free expression or you don't. And hopefully, Yeah, we'll see what Elon Musk does with this stuff.
You know what? We should. So, are you saying we should do the free expression?
Yes.
Okay, I'm down with that because I've got some fucking serious beefs with people.
Okay.
Not specific people, but just people in general. Stupid cocksuckers.
There's just in the last 2 or 3 years, there's a ton of stuff that really. It's always important, but it's really putting it right back in our face.
I know. I've had arguments with a certain person that basically, well, it doesn't fucking matter. It's important.
That was a very illuminating comment that you just made.
We definitely need to talk about it because a lot of people don't understand what free expression actually is.
And you cannot just say that this is dangerous for people to hear and then just shut it down and think that somehow or another that's a reasonable purpose to stop people from bringing certain things out into the. We're supposed to be able to determine whatever. We'll talk about that next.
So one of the episodes is going to be safety. One of the episodes is going to be free expression, and we'll come up with some sort of fucking
light one for Wednesday.
Light Wednesday thing. So, any questions? You know where to get us.
720-334-ROLL
and shortbusdebateclub@yahoo.com. Thanks for riding with us, and we will see you next week.
And thank you for the hello.
Hello.